All right, guys, thank you so much for that update. We'll get one more before we're done here for the day. Right now, we're going to welcome in Blythe Brumleve to join us for a little conversation about sports, a little conversation about AI, and a lot of marketing. Blythe, thank you so much for being here. Our final folk to have survived Manifest last week. Give us quickly your conference rundown.
It was, I'm still recovering. I kind of just don't even, I'm in email hell right now, trying to come out of it. And hopefully we'll see it on the other side.
Well, it looks like from what I saw, it was an amazing time. I think I saw a picture of you with, I think it was like a puppy.
Some puppies, yeah.
I only visited like 4 times. It's fine.
Talk about like the best marketing ever, right? Like Manifest has like the puppy room, the Super Bowl has the puppy bowl the day before the game. And this is the perfect segue into what we're talking about today is Super Bowl marketing, which it feels like it's the biggest game of the year, right? Does it really need marketing help anymore?
100%. It's one of those events that people actively tune in to watch the commercials. It's one of the few games of the year, or really the only game of the year, where you are actively watching just to see what brands are going to show off their commercials. I mean, brands spend millions of dollars. They spend an entire year planning these campaigns. And now we're sort of entering the realm of, okay, brands are deciding, am I going to advertise with the Super Bowl or am I going to advertise on social media while everybody is watching their phones and watching the big game at the same time? And that's what we're kind of seeing with a couple of different collaborative efforts. FedEx is one of those companies where they are collaborating with musicians in order to have them create different songs over on TikTok. And then that way they will use that information and use, pick one person. We don't necessarily know yet which musician that they're going to pick, but then to show that one musician over on the actual Super Bowl ad. So they're doing some collaborative efforts with social media and also the big game.
And Blythe, one of the big things that I saw last year was some of the really popular, talked about commercials and ads. And so do you think any of that's going to make its way into this year? Any kind of trends? I know one that kind of comes to mind was when there was just a QR code on the screen.
I was just going to talk about that.
Yeah, that was a huge one. Do you think anything like that will be seen this year?
Sure. So that was the Coinbase ad that everybody kind of just raved about because it was so simple. It was so just simple. And that's what I think a lot of folks are craving for, is that you can have these big production efforts, but sometimes being a little weird sticks out more than everything else that you're seeing. Now, with respect to that Super Bowl, we saw a lot of the fintech, a lot of the crypto monetization or companies spending money on those commercials during the Super Bowl. We're probably not going to see that this year because of the crypto crash. And so we're going to be moving a lot of marketers. A lot of these ads are already being released on Adweek or not Adweek, but Ad Network, I believe is the phrase. And so if you go to their channel, you can see all of these different commercials that have already been released. And a lot of Super Bowl watchers have already been polled. I think Marketing Brew did this study of about 1,000 adults, and they said that they actually don't like that the commercials are being released prior to the Super Bowl. They want to see them live, and they want it to be kind of like a spoiler-free event where you can watch these commercials live and experience them all together, which, I mean, sports in general is one of the last few things that you can watch together and experience live together, both in person and at home.
So, Blythe, I've got to wonder right now. We talk about what's trending and kind of meeting the consumer where they are when you're talking about advertising. On TikTok right now, there's a lot of this influencing trend, and people are calling it recession core, right? Like, not necessarily the spend your money with us, but the kind of like, okay, let's look at our consumption habits and let's maybe change the way that we're being marketed to. And I think a lot of that will play out with these big brands, maybe playing on the nostalgia and how it feels to maybe, okay, well, you know what? You're together with your family, a Pepsi, right? Instead of like the in-your-face, we sell you this Pepsi brand this year. Do you think that we could see that as a lot of trend, as maybe people taking, or companies taking a play on this de-influencing, more nostalgic, more time-friendly marketing strategy instead of this so in-your-face salesy approach?
100%, because you kind of see it in movies as well, where a lot of movies, they won't give that movie, they won't fund, a lot of these studios will not fund a new movie unless it has some kind of nostalgia feel to it. It has some kind of a backstory to, or it's been around for a while, because it costs so much money. It's around $200 million at minimum in order to promote a new movie. So a lot of these studios aren't even making that investment. And so on the flip side, if you're going to be making a high dollar investment, which is what a Super Bowl ad is, then you're going to play, or you want to play on the nostalgia feel of it. I just saw one of those, speaking of the previews of the commercials, Clueless, that all the original Alicia Silverstone and the original cast, they joined together to create a new commercial, and I about died because that was the movie for me when I was a kid. So that nostalgia factor is absolutely going to play a role. And plus, we're kind of, a couple years, quote unquote, removed from COVID. And so a lot of folks are just ready to laugh. They're ready to feel good again. And so that's what we're kind of expecting to see with a lot of the marketing going on this weekend.
I'm completely clueless about that movie, so I'm guessing it's something else I have to add to the list. But we're looking at potentially the playoffs for AI. We're looking at Google kind of going up against Microsoft. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. Google has entered the AI arms race with their new tool called Bard, which is it doesn't exactly flow off the tongue per se. But the danger with this is that it kind of brings to light that Google has actually been sitting on this technology for a while, but they were apprehensive. Sundar Pichai, who had a tweet thread the other day, was talking about how they have this technology, but they were just waiting because they were a little, apprehensive about what this might do to the economy. I mean, they're on one side, Google, the company is Alphabet, the company is laying off, a bunch of white collar workers. And then they introduce a tool like this that is technically going to replace a lot of white collar workers. So where does that kind of fall in? So they've been resistant to releasing Bard to the general public, but now it's in testing. Microsoft and ChatGPT, their partnership has kind of forced their hand. So now we're kind of just all in on this AI arms race, and that the public is going to kind of be the guinea pig testing portion of it. But then on the flip side, you have all of these publishers that have been creating content online for years and years. And the big question now is which one of these big companies are going to actually partner with these publishers in order to scrape that data, in order to give an answer. There are a lot of, freight companies in general, their number one and number two strategies as far as marketing is concerned is advertising and SEO. How is that going to affect all of these publishers that have spent years trying to craft these blog posts and these YouTube videos, and AI is going to come in the mix and kind of display these answers without giving those publishers credit? That's where the next sort of like legal storm that we're going to find ourselves in is who is going to partner data-wise with ChatGPT and with Google's Bard in order to display these answers and display this information, because right now there are no citations. There's only one AI-powered search engine that is displaying citations, and that's a company called Neeva. You pay about $6 a month, and they're doing a rev share with these different publishers like Quora and Wikipedia. But then on the flip side, Google and Microsoft are not, they haven't announced any kind of rev share for the partners for the data that they're scraping from these companies. So it kind of gets into like this legal murky waters. And then on the flip side, we're also, all getting kind of experimented on at the same time with these new AI tools. So we've entered into a new information age, and we're not exactly sure of which direction it's going to go. Some good, probably some bad along with it.
Definitely going to be an interesting route that we're going to go down here, and also kind of reminds me of those AI generated images. And Blythe, this is something that we can just kind of continue to talk on for, I'm sure, at least an hour or so. But if people want to find more of your content, get more of your podcast, how can they do that?
They can check out everythingislogistics.com. That's where all my content, podcasts, socials, you can find it all right there.
Awesome, Blythe. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Right now, we're going to head back over to the wall because we have Kaylee Nix with our next weather update.